Looky what I got this morning. I finally broke down and rented a stump grinder, and I have a lot of stumps to grind. This is Saturday morning. I got it today, and tomorrow I have to return it Monday. So let me show you. Got three different kind of stumps that I want to work on. Okay, this is one kind. This is where there used to be a tree. It was logged, probably. Some of these I've tried to burn and didn't burn well. Like here's another one. And these, I'm cutting stumps mostly for the lawnmower just to make it easier on me to cut grass. So there's another one under this grass, piece of a stump where I can't cut. And there's another one right here where I can't cut. I sprayed this with Roundup last weekend. And then there's another kind of stump. These are where Debbie and I decided we just had too many trees in here and we just started cutting. So I left them sticking up because I didn't want to lose them and run over them with a lawnmower. But most of these are fairly small. These need to be poisoned when I cut them because they'll come right back. And these are a great tripping hazard for the kids at night. They run into them full speed. So that's the second type of stump. And then the third type is kind of optional if I have enough time. Let's see if we can find one. For instance, here's two little stumps and they're right by the base of this tree, so I'm probably never gonna run the lawnmower this close. So it's more of an aesthetic issue. Well, I might run the lawnmower through here, so that one's different. Now here's one. I'm not gonna run the mower through here because there's a big hole, but I'd love to get rid of this stump. This stump's gotta go. Here's one that's gonna go. Now it doesn't affect the lawnmower really because it's so close to this existing tree, but it's gonna go. That one's gonna go. Let's get after it. And there's some where the roots are sticking up above the ground. These are roots from a tree called a sweet bay, and it has very obnoxious roots. They grow on the surface and they grow everywhere. And I might trim some of these, and it's not gonna hurt that tree any. They're pretty bulletproof, kind of like a wild weed. Yeah, let's get this thing off the trailer and start cutting. So this is nice. This is a dedicated trailer, comes with the machine from the rental place. Has the ramp, and it also has this pipe which slides through the trencher and pins to the trailer. So there's no straps, there's no bolting it down, there's no nothing. You just get it in place and slide the pipe through and pin it. And it looks like people have been gnawing away on the trailer with the deal. I don't know what that's about. Right off the bat, I thought I had lost the key. It was not in the ignition, but I found it. It was hanging from a string and it had gone in a little crack where I couldn't see it. So somebody did a good job and tied it to a string. The last time I used a stump grinder, which was probably 12 years ago, something like that, it beat me up pretty good. It was a simpler version. It just, you had to push it. It didn't have powered wheels. You push it in position, you locked the right wheel, and you swung it back and forth manually, and you lifted the blade just by tilting the machine back. Anyway, now I'm a lot more fragile. I'm not as tough as I was, and I was thinking the whole time, or I have been thinking, I'm gonna rent this thing, and it's gonna beat me to death, but it did not. It's a big old heavy stable machine, and it's not physical to use it. Is like any piece of equipment, there's a learning curve on getting the controls and, not forgetting which one does which. But as far as physical, Debbie could have done it probably. It's been very, very dry here. Not as bad as last summer, but very dry. You can see the ground in front of the machine, it's dust. So I didn't get a chance to see how it will pull through mud or soft dirt, but I would be pretty confident with these little tracks that it wouldn't have any problem if your yard is wet or wetter than this one. Okay, very first stump. This is a stump that I burned a couple of times. It didn't burn well. It didn't go beneath the surface. It's still sticking up a little bit. So I started right here. You can't really see the blade when you're back there, which is probably a good thing because that means you can't get a direct shot on a piece of chip of wood, although I did get hit a few times. So if you swing it all the way to the operator side, you can see how deep you're cutting. And that's kind of all you have to go by other than seat of your pants. So started swinging and I got it to the depth I thought I should get it, and you just swing back and forth. Now you can drop it every time you swing if you want to make a cut like that, or you can swing it and creep forward. Here you can see I'm creeping forward, and I let go of the center knob because the controls for the creep are on the right side, and I really don't like the way this is set up. After a little while I started just always having my right hand on the control, which is the electric buttons that keep the blade spinning. It's got like a button and a safety button. You gotta have them both pressed, which is a little awkward, but I guess, you know, probably a good thing. And then I was taking my left hand and jumping over my right hand to do the crawl. Now right now my left hand is on the up and down control, and the crawl is on the other side. And I have a good heavy steel bar on both of these crawl and up and down, so you can lean on it without shaking, without making the machine jumpy. That part of it is very well designed, and it took a while to kind of get the hang of it, but I'm getting it. So the center control is also the swing back and forth. It's all hydraulic. It all operates very smoothly. I think it's like a 32 horsepower engine. Seems to have enough power for, you know, reasonable use. Now in this case, this is part of the learning curve. I was raising the blade as I crept forward, thinking I didn't want to plow the spinning blade into a big cut, but I'm cutting such a little bit here. I've kind of learned that I don't have to raise the blade. I can keep the blade at the height that I want and just push forward. And if you're on a big heavy stump and you're deep into it, you don't want to do that because you're going to bog the machine down. And in my case, in this situation, I'm not really after cutting them deep so I can cover them with dirt. Just don't want them sticking up and hitting the lawnmower, or sticking up and tripping kids at night, or tripping old people during the day. I just want them cut at or below the surface, and I know they're going to rot and make a little hole, and I'll have to throw some dirt in there, but I'm okay with that. I had too many stumps to deal with. There were probably 100 of them, counting all the little ones, so we just trimmed them just at or just a little bit below grade. So early in the day, I'm still learning. This is a stump that I had burnt, but part of it's still sticking up. And I was going to try to use my left hand on the controls, and it wasn't working too good. The control has a button and a safety button, and you have to have them both pressed in for the blade to run. And they're not like click buttons. You don't really feel them. They're like micro switches. So it's really easy to press that micro switch and have the blade go on. And it's really easy to not have pressure on that button and have the blade stop. And especially in the beginning, since you don't see the blade, you don't really notice that it's not running. Later, you know, as the day went on, I could kind of just tell by a sound where the blade was running. So anyway, my left hand got fired for that job, and the rest of the day I used my right hand on the center control, and my left hand did a jump back and forth between the track and the swing, the track and the up and down. This machine is a Barretto, B-A-R-R-E-T-O. I don't know the model number because they have a whole bunch of different ones, but it looks like they sell for about $25,000. So it's a real piece of machinery. It rents for the upper 300s per day all around town. Home Depot has this machine. The problem with Home Depot is they're open on Sunday, so if you rent it on Saturday, you got to bring it back Sunday morning. I rented it from a little place that is closed on Sunday, and they close at noon on Saturday. If you pick it up Saturday morning, you can keep it till Monday morning for a 1-day rental. Now, they're bigger machines with hour meters. They limit you to 10 hours on that deal. So if you think you're going to rent it for Saturday and have 4 guys and run it 24 hours a day, you can't get away with that. But this machine doesn't have an hour meter, and I probably didn't even put 10 hours on it, so all is good. So this, I'm sneaking up on the first of the little stumps, little vertical stumps. Like I said, you can't see the wheel from back in the back, so I'm just creeping up. You can see how I have to get cross-handed to go between raising and lowering and tracking forward, which I don't know why they would have done something like this when they made it, but I'm sure they had a reason. Anyway, these things are over a year old now, so they're kind of halfway rotten, so that most of them busted up pretty easy. And while I'm there, I'm knocking down some roots, getting below grade, and we ate that baby up. Now, I rented this from a new place in town. It's called OGES, OGE''S. And I've done a huge amount of equipment rental with my construction days. So, and this is a big construction rental area because we have the industrial corridor here going up and down the river. So every single national regional chain has places here, and many times more than one. So OGES is a new kid in town. They had one location before in Lafayette, which is a little city 50 miles to our west. It's Oil Town. And they just opened this one up, and I was very impressed. So I go in there Saturday morning early. There's somebody else ahead of me, and he's renting a track hoe, and he's talking to the clerk, or it might be a manager, I don't know. He's talking to somebody behind the desk, and he's saying that he's going to dig up some cane. He's trying to get rid of some bamboo cane stuff. And I said right off the bat, you need a bigger machine. And I didn't even know what he was renting. I just know that it's a real pain in the rear. So he said, you need a bigger machine. And the clerk, the guy behind the counter, also was a little concerned. He said, you might want to upgrade. And the guy was, no, we're going to make do with what we got. And he kept downplaying how small it was. So then the clerk said, look, if you get this thing at your house and it's not performing, bring it back. I'm not going to charge you anything other than, a rent for a bigger machine. He says, I don't think this machine's big enough. So I thought that was pretty good that he offered to, take it back, not charge him a cleaning fee and all that kind of stuff for a machine going out. Another thing that impressed me, he got on the radio to the guys in the back, and he said, trailer number such and such, track hoe number such and such, and bucket number such and such. So everything's numbered, very well organized. And then I got my machine, and by this time there were 3 people, me and 2 others. And so when the clerk manager guy got through up front, he came back in the back and helped everybody load up. And I thought that was pretty good, because a lot of office guys are just, they get caught up and they go sit and play on the computer. But he didn't do that. So I'm impressed with this little company. The rental price was more or less the same as everybody else, but seemed like they had good service. And then again, when I returned it, dropped the trailer off in the back, and by the time I got up front, the guy in the back had radioed that everything's good. Here's your $200 deposit back. So yeah, it was a good transaction. Now, my original plan for this area was to pay somebody with a forestry mulcher to come and do this. A forestry mulcher is basically this spinning wheel up front, but 6 feet wide. Takes a huge amount of horsepower to drive one, and they're very expensive to purchase and very expensive to maintain. And you got to have a big machine to put it on. They're usually on a skid steer. But I thought that was going to be the best thing. So I had made contact with a couple of them, and nothing ever happened. It seems like they're like, I don't know, equipment guys. Maybe they have a dump truck and a track hoe, and maybe they share the forestry mulcher, because the stories that I got from 2 different people was weird. It was like oh, I can't come this weekend because of such and such, and oh, my mulcher's broken, and just, it was going to be a $850 bill, but none of them ever came. And then the last time I called one was just about a week ago, and he said, man, all the local equipment guys are heading to North and South Carolina to go work on hurricane damage. And so, yeah, the poor people up there, they need all the help they can get, and these guys probably make a lot of money and work a lot of hours. So that's when I decided I would just do it myself with this thing, and I'm kind of glad I did. I think it did pretty much just as good a job. I still got some lumps, but I can deal with those over time with Collins tractor. The grater box on the back of his tractor is difficult in here because it looks like dirt, but it's really roots. Every square inch of this area there's roots. So the grater box grabs those roots and kind of messes up. But I bring in dirt from his pile with his loader bucket on the front, and I just spread it with a shovel. And I've been doing that for off and on for what, I don't know, 2 years, maybe a year and a half. And I just do it sometimes when I'm not busy and it's not too hot. And it's getting better. It's a lot better than when I started. And if I just keep on pecking at it, now that these stumps are going, should have this area pretty flat, maybe rolling hills or rolling bumps, but much better than it is now in the coming years. I did have one little interesting deal happen. I guess if I was still working, I'd call it a near miss. I cut a tree down with the spinning blade. It was a standing sapling, maybe 1.5 inches in diameter. I just, I cut it down just like I'm cutting these stumps up. And after it laid down, then I started to grind the stump that it was growing out of. And at some point, one of these little cutting wheels grabbed the sapling that was on the ground and harpooned it directly under the length of the machine and hit me in the foot. Now, it didn't hurt me, but kind of a glancing blow. Could have, I guess. So, yeah, you gotta watch. The wheel is throwing stuff towards you. Seems at first you think, man, it ought to throw stuff away from you. But if it throws things away from you and something bad happens to the machine's gonna come at you. If it throws stuff, the direction it throws it, and you lose track power or you pass out or something, it's not going to come get you. It's going to go away from you. And I presume that's why all of these machines spin and they throw the chips at you, but there's no way the machine can roll over you if something dreadful happens. This is a pine stump that was from when they cleared this land, clear-cut this pine forest 12 years ago. It's right in front of the cabin. It's been bugging me forever. Actually, when I kind of built the pad, I tried to dig it out with the traco, and I was going to have to dig too deep of a hole, so I just left it. But finally getting rid of it. In spite of being that old, it's still pretty dang hard. Gave the machine a run for its money. And you can see I'm comfortable working right next to my stone walkway and this wooden step going up to my shower. It's kind of hard to, you don't really notice how close this is, but because the controls are so good and accurate, I was really comfortable here. I wasn't worried about swinging into the bricks or the stone. Now this is a pine stump of a pine tree I cut down a while back, and it is between my shower and sort of where I put the septic system. And when I get rid of this and knock some of this dirt down, I'm going to be able to ride my ride mower all the way around the circumference of the tiny house. So it's just going to make maintenance a lot easier and simpler. I don't have to get out to string trimmer and get back here. I can just mow it. I like that. It's after lunch, so I ran the machine maybe 3 hours this morning, and I want to say it's a pretty impressive machine. Physically, there's something running on it. Physically, it takes no strength whatsoever. The machine doesn't jump around like the last one I rented, which was a little 8 horsepower deal. It's stationary. Coordination, it takes a little bit, like any machine with a bunch of levers. I really like the hard steel by the controls, so you can stabilize your fingers. One thing takes a little getting used to. In order to engage the clutch to make the cutter spin, you have to hold this down and this at the same time, and it's real easy to let go of one or the other because they're just like a little micro switch. So sometimes the blade stops and you don't even realize it. What else? I would much rather have seen this control here and these two together, because I like to keep my hand on here, keep the blade spinning and the swing going, and then with the other hand I do up and down and move the tracks around. So what I'm having to do is, I can't do it because I'm having to cross hand. I'm having to put my left hand on the right side and keep my right hand on the control here, which is a little weird. It's not the end of the world, but the machine is smooth, relatively quiet. There's something in here that's making noise, like a little pump or something. Let's see if it'll do it. And it's gonna run the battery down. Now that I'm listening, I don't hear it. Okay, anyway, let's get started after lunch here. So one interesting thing about these travel levers, if you got a long way to go and you push on them really, really hard, and you push against that steel member, that hand support, and you push as hard as you can, it doesn't go any faster. It's still slow. So the next two spots where I moved to, I put it back on the trailer, pulled it with the truck. It was just kind of silly to try to track this thing down the road. It would have taken a long time, put wear and tear on the tracks. It was needless. So we put it on the trailer, and we got these next two spots like that. I just took the barrel off of this stump, and there's not enough left to get the grinder here. This little corner, Traco usually pops those off. So got one way at the other end down there. Let's try it. Okay, this one needs the grinder because the stump was much bigger than the barrel. So everything over here is pretty hard. So I'll get off the trailer and knock this out, and then put it back on the trailer, and we'll head to the river. All Alright, down by the river, and the river is exceptionally pretty today because it hadn't rained in a long time, so it gets, the longer between rains, the clearer the water gets. It's really pretty. Anyway, we got a little stump here that the burn barrel was on, and it didn't totally burn it. So I'm gonna knock this one out. And we got a stump over here that I had actually tried to dig up with the track hoe. And I like, it was gonna make a 10-foot diameter hole. So just trim it off flush with the ground. And then gotta turn the trailer around and head back out of here. And I think I'm through with this thing. I got it for a whole nother day. But I think everything I wanted to grind has been grounded. So let's get it off the trailer. Well, I just noticed that my SD card says full on the other camera, so I don't know how long I've been thinking I was recording. I was not recording, not sure. Hopefully not too long. I'm done. I'll put it on the trailer and try to get that pipe back through the middle. And I don't know what I'm going to do now. I've been sitting here about 30 minutes watching this fire burn. What this is all the little pieces of roots and slivers of trunk that come up when I did the stump grinder. I have gone to all of the areas with a lawn rake and straightened them out as best as possible. Now, it's not a golf green by any chance, but it's much more mowable than it was before. So, who won? Me or the stumps? I'll let you decide that. But anyway, thanks for watching. So I brought the machine home. I'm in front of my rental house, and I'm gonna take care of this little stump, and I'm also gonna take care of this bad boy. And it's probably not as intimidating as it looks because it is very, very rotten. And we got a sycamore tree planted itself in the middle of the stump. Yep, this was one of those big red oak trees like I did the video on, probably planted at the same time. This one was cut a few years back. And over here in the corner is the first one we cut down, and I had the stump ground on this one, but there's still little traces of it. It's probably been 10 years. Pretty cool though, whatever that is. It turns out that underneath the rotten part on the top of this thing was some very, very dry, hard red oak stump left, and it worked the machine pretty good. You had to go really slow, just take a little bite each time. So if you're still with me, once again, thanks for watching.